Hey, welcome to Ask Elihu. There was a recent article put out by Pinnacle and Buchdahl on how much value is there in soccer betting markets, and this raised a little confusion about the difference between closing line value and expected line value. So I thought we'd go through some examples, talk about the difference, what it means, and then take a quick look at some of the things that were said in the article. So first, let's consider a situation where you bet a market at plus 105 and it closed at minus 105. So when we're looking at the closing line value, we figured out the break even of the bet, which you see here is a formula to convert any money line into a win percentage. We look at the break even of the closing price, and the difference is the closing line value. So in the case where you bet at plus 105, it closed at minus 105, your closing line value was 2.4%. Now that translates into double that amount when you're looking at how much actual edge you gained. So if you are, for example, betting at 50 and it closes at 51%, that's a 1% move, but it's a 2% edge in your return. Now, what does closing line value mean for the average bettor? Well, one problem is it's not enough to get a little bit of value to guarantee a profit. If you're consistently beating the closer by 1 penny, say you're getting 0.2% of closing line value, you're going to do better than your average Joe, but you're still going to lose money because you're not beating the VIG. If you have to beat 4.5% VIG or whatever VIG you're attacking, you have to get more than a penny. But do you have to get a full, juice movement? Do you have to get 2.4%? Or beat it by 10 cents? Does the bet you make have to be the mean price, the no VIG price at the end? And no, it's not. And we're going to look at an example of that, which shows that most often markets don't move far enough. So if you see, for example, a market that is at minus 110 and it moves to 120 and doesn't move anymore, there might have still been a tiny bit of value at 120, but the no VIG price is nowhere near minus 110, which is what a lot of people would assume. If people look at a closer, if you see minus 120 and even, they assume the midpoint minus 110, halfway between plus 100 and 120 is the true no VIG price. And that's, for guesstimating, it's okay. But when you're looking at market moves, more often than not, the direction of the last move is going to be the closer price. So we're going to go back and look at a situation where, imagine you have very big mature markets. So you are a modeler, and you have the best model in the world, and the fair price is minus 118, or about 54.1%. The market is at 110, and you see, it's 1.7% off. You have a 3.4% edge. So you bomb. You hit the whole market, and the market moves to 115. And now, at 115, the break even is 0.6%, and you may have a 1.2% edge if you bet it again. But at 1.2, you might not bet it again. You might just leave it there. So in this case, when the true price was 54%, your bet at 110 it turned out to be a lot better than it may have looked at if you're only looking at the line move. So there's two takeaways from this. A small line move isn't going to guarantee you win. A small line move just starts nibbling away at the vigorish. But you don't need enough of a line move to move through all the VIG to be profitable. You just have to make sure that your number is good. And if you bet into a good number, you're going to win. Now, expected value. Expected value is simply the difference between the true win rate and the price you bet. So I'm going to go back and look at this. So if the true win rate, fair price, is 54.1, God whispers in your ear, this is the right answer. And you have the opportunity to buy it at 52.4. It's 1.7% difference. And typically, your break even's about twice the difference. Now, that changes a bit when you're with big favorites or big dogs, but that's a good way to get very close in most situations. Now, Pinnacle, let's look at the Pinnacle article. In there, Buchdahl says, we might propose that the amount by which the odds move provides a measure of how much expected value there was in the initial odds. And then he gives a formula. Expected value equals the first odds divided by the last odds minus 1. And what he's describing isn't the expected value, but he's describing the closing line value. And what we've shown is that the closing line value, while it's related to expected value, is a completely different beast. And if you follow his advice, where if you're beating the closer by 1 penny that you have expected value, you're going to overestimate your edge. And there's the biggest foul you can do when you're betting is overestimating your edge. No one ever went broke betting less than their edge, but people who overestimate their edge will lose.